Look at that, I've been parked up for about 15 minutes and it's now 26 degrees. I absolutely love the summertime. Now another thing I'm not too keen about on this bike is the windscreen. Well, the air deflector. It looks nice from the front, but when you're riding it from the rear, it looks a bit warped and a bit melted really, and it's quite loose. I mean, you can have it back here, you can have it forward. It's a bit cheap, I'd say, a little bit cheap, but no doubt you can get a better one, or maybe it might just be a case of do a few bolts up and make it a little bit more sturdier. But the smoothness of this DCT, when you're in slow speeds, it really does become really stable and really manageable. Standard mode, bring it up to 50, kicks down, and off we go. Now the thing I really do like about this bike is that for a beginner motorcyclist who likes this cruiser style motorcycle, it is on point. And let's face it, the manual version is going to be better in respects of you've got the manual version. If you like manual bikes, it's going to be better all round, but you can't fault the DCT model. Yes, it is slightly more expensive, so if that isn't a problem for you, go for the DCT one. If you're, I wouldn't say nervous about using gears, or you just can't grasp the concept of using gears on the motorcycle, then the DCT version will do you proud. Also, if you're a short rider, you've got no problem at all on this bike. It's a 700mm seat, so you are always flat-footed. I've never had any issue with putting my feet down on this motorcycle. It tips in nicely, suspension is good and bouncy. It is a comfy ride. Now the power that this bike puts out, 86 brake horsepower, and I want to say about 76 foot-pound of torque. For a beginner motorcyclist, it is more than enough power. It's more than enough power for most riders out there, because you can have some serious fun on this bike and it isn't going to get you into trouble. But then if you really crank it on, yes, it will get you into trouble. It's just that happy medium of the power of the motorcycle. The display on the bike is very crisp. I've got no issues with looking down in direct sunlight and seeing what the bike is telling me. It tips in lovely. Whereas I did find on the Rebel 500 the display was just a little bit on the weak side. It wasn't giving me a lot of information. As soon as I looked down, I was struggling to see what I wanted. So Honda have definitely upped their game with the 1100cc one. It is very agile, you can flick about, but like I was saying, if you go into a corner or around a roundabout and you do crank it over, you are definitely going to grind out. Now with the near side footrest area, as you can see down here, there's this lump. I don't know if you can see that. When I put my foot back down, I end up hitting that lump. It's not a problem, but it just means that your foot is resting on the engine block, which we all know engine blocks get hot and you're gonna melt your boot. So that's just something I guess at the end of the day it's a protector for the engine, but once you ride the bike and you get used to it, you put your feet down naturally. It's just one of those things. If it's your bike, you are used to your bike. I do wish though the Honda would actually give the Rebel 1100 and the 500 the option of having forward riding positions. I am going to keep this at 50 because the wind noise in my helmet at 60, it does get quite difficult. I don't know if the microphone will be picking up my voice that well. Let's try it just for this last little bit, because it isn't much longer before I get back into a 40. So yeah, it would be nice if your feet were outstretched a little bit. I think it would just give the Rebel that little bit more of a cruiser style feel. So let's go down into 39 miles an hour, bringing it into the 40, and the bike slows down very well. You've got a user mode on this one, so you can preset to your own power settings, which is what I like about the Honda range as well. You've always got options for your own power. It would have been nice to see Honda squeeze a little bit more grunt out of their 1100cc motorcycle. After all, it is an 1100cc and it's not pumping out a lot of power. But that goes for the Africa Twin and also the NT 1100. It's almost again like Honda are just playing it safe. I guess you've got, yeah, well, let's face it, you've got the big safety aspect there. You've got a comfortable bike with enough power to put down on the road without causing issues to the rider. 1100cc with 160 odd horsepower is a lot of power for a motorcycle. It's a lot of power for the road. But when you put it into a comfortable, managed, tuned power, the 1100s do actually produce a reasonable, respectable, comfortable ride. I'm blabbling crap, I know that. I'm trying to justify 1100cc with not a lot of power. Maybe that's what Honda want. They want their riders to stay alive. Because all the bikes with 1100cc have got plenty of grunt for the road. But then when you put them up to the likes of their competitors, 1100cc doesn't actually produce hardly any power. I mean, look at previously, you've got the Honda VFR 800 pumping out 126 brake horsepower, around about that, which is a very, very good amount of power for a 800cc motorcycle. But it's not a sports bike. So I wonder why Honda went for big engines with really small amount of powers. But their torque is respectable. They're all up in the high 70s, 100 torques. So they do pack a punch. The seat position on this bike is nice. Even though your legs are bent, they're bent at like a right angle, and it does actually make for quite a comfortable ride. I'm not struggling with this bike. I'm going to drop it down into second gear. But there you go, the bike, because it's in automatic, it just brings it back up for you. But it pulls really well. There is a National a little bit further up, which I'm going to pull in just prior to it, try and get no one behind me, and have a little go up to 60 in sport mode, and just show you that even though it's only got 86 odd horsepower, it does work. Seat's comfy, riding position's comfy, your back's nice and straight. There we go, we're up to the 60s, and the bike it handles very nicely at speed. You do get a lot of wind in your chest because it obviously is, like, I wouldn't say a naked bike, it's a cruiser bike, but it's not any protection at all at the front of the bike, so you do feel the wind in your chest a hell of a lot. Front brake, single disc. It's got enough stopping power in that brake for the power this bike produces. But for 1100cc, I would like, wow, it clearly doesn't need two discs. One disc is more than enough. Slow manoeuvres, round into the corner, into the roundabout, foot down again, third gear, it took that on. Yeah, it does. That's the one thing about the automatic mode. You do find that you go around corners, it keeps it up in the high gears. Now I did find this as well with the Africa Twin when I took it to Wales. I was going through a few hairpins and the bike did put me around hairpins in 4th and 5th gear, so I was constantly having to manually shift down. But again, that's just down to your riding. If you're in that type of environment, you're going to be fully relying on your override buttons to get the gears down. You might even just flick it straight into to manual mode and just ride the bike rather than letting the bike ride for you. So it is very versatile. You can kick back, relax, and let the bike do the work, or if you want to ride it, you can flick it over to your manual and you can play around and you can ride the bike. I am in, actually, yeah, I'm going to leave it in sport. I'm going to drop it down into second gear, 28 miles an hour. Coming into the National, off we go. And there we go, pulls away, very, very nice. Straight up to 60. the bike's taken back over into 6th gear because I'm cruising at the highest speed. But then if I do want to go into manual mode, I'll go back in, flick it down, and as you can see, I'm at 58 miles an hour in 3rd gear. The bike is not changing up for me. I am in full control of the gears. So I know I have a few times said that I do prefer a manual bike because you are fully in control of the gears. Even with the DCT from Honda, you are still well and truly in control of what the gears are doing, as long as it is in manual mode. Bump it back up into 6th gear, whack cruise control on, you got your set light there, and you can sit back and enjoy. I'll put it back into drive, into DCT, roll forward, bringing it down into the 40s, reset the speedo, 38 miles an hour. There you go, jumps up 1 mile an hour for some bizarre reasons, in 4th gear in sport mode, and off we go cruising again. I've really got to say that the DCT is brilliant. I personally wouldn't want a DCT, and I know I'm probably repeating myself, but I wouldn't. I do prefer having the manuals. But take it out, give it a try, see what you think of it. Leave a comment below, let me know. And my sodding 360 has come up with another error. It hasn't done this in so long. I think I might have a dodgy memory card in that one, because it does that every now and again when a certain memory card goes in. I might have to put a mark on that memory card and limit its use. So we'll be wrapping up this review of the 2022 Honda Rebel 1100 DCT. Oh, that's one actually, just before we finish, if I were to be in the market for a Rebel, would I go for the 500 or the 1100? I would have to go for the 1100 over the 500. It's just more refined. There's just more that this bike gives you being an 1100. The quality is better. The power is so much more responsive, and it's power that you're gonna want. When you ride the 500, it is just seriously lacking power. It's a 500cc motorcycle after all. It's not a powerful bike. It just needs more oomph, and the 1100 gives it that more oomph to get out, to ride, to get past vehicles, to open up onto the motorway network. It's not much more expensive, and I'll put the price difference between the 1100 and the 500 up now so you can see firsthand what it is. Pop down to Crescent Honda in Southampton, have a chat with them, take the Rebel 1100, take the Rebel 500 out for a test ride and see what you think. But I think if you opted for the 1100 over the 500, you are making the right decision. So from Resolution, thank you for watching my review on the Honda Rebel 1100 DCT model. I'll grab a coffee. Until next time everyone, ride safe. Please give me a like, subscribe, and actually do comment. Let me know if you've ridden the Rebel 1100. Let me know what you think. So until next time, take care. I'll see you soon.